All right, this next question, and Tim, we're going to start with you. It's a 1-minute question. Let's look ahead to 4 years from today. If you were elected, what would you like for Chatham County to say about your legacy serving on the board the past 4 years? 1 minute.
Well, thank you. I think that's a great question. I think number one, as I mentioned before, is we got to get back to academic excellence. That's a big issue with our youth. We are falling behind globally, but we're certainly going to fall behind in our county if we don't focus on that. We've got 4 D-level graded schools in my area in the western part of the county. I think I just read that 12% of Jordan Matthews' kids can do math at grade level, 12%. That concerns me, so I think we need to focus on that, and I want to focus that. I want to focus resources. I want to pay my teachers better. A teacher should make more than a truck driver, I think. A truck driver right now makes about $80,000 a year right out of school, a CDL school. We need to also look at additional resources for our students that are behind, like tutoring. So I think my legacy from here should be that I kept our students up to a global level, got them to a global level, and then gave them opportunities in the county so they could go and achieve.
Thank you. Same question, 1 minute, Jessica Winger.
Yes, so in 4 years, if they were talking about what someone was talking about, what I had helped to create, there are a couple things. One of them would be creating a very collaborative plan that enables parents, community members, groups in the community, all to work together with the schools. Something that is ongoing and that allows us to continue to have those civil conversations, those discussions, coming up with solutions and then working together so that we can help make our schools better and make it the best environment that we can for our children. Not only that, something else I'd really like to help to do is decrease that learning gap that we have in our schools. We have schools that are struggling right now, students who are struggling, and we need to make solid efforts and reach out to them to help lift them up and help them to be successful and have all those same opportunities as other individuals in this county. So really, those are the 2 main focuses that I would hope could be achieved in those 4 years.
Thank you. Dale Turner, 1 minute.
Okay, well, I think right now, Chatham County Schools is in better shape than it's been in the last 20 or 30 years. We are nationally, internationally recognized. You just heard that recently, our accountability results have our children above the state average, 2nd in math in the region, 3rd in reading. So I don't think that we're lacking in terms of giving them the basics. I hope that my legacy will be that I was an honest broker, that I wanted the best for the children, I wanted the best technology they could get, I wanted the highest quality teachers that they could get, teachers that had experience with a lot of other cultures rather than just one. I don't want children to grow up living in a bubble. And basically I think that's the legacy that I will leave when I...
Thank you very much. Okay, next question, 2 minutes. I mentioned that we had more than 60 questions submitted by our readers, and here's one of them we've kind of combined from several different questions. And Tim, we're going to start with you. It's 2 minutes. School board and school board meetings in the last 2 years across the country have become battlegrounds. In addition to disagreements over COVID closures and masking policies, activist groups have campaigned against certain school curriculum, have fought and campaigned to ban specific books from school libraries. Here's the question. If you're elected, how would you team up and partner with your other board members to move Chatham County schools forward in measurable ways? 2 minutes.
Well, I think first of all, as we look at the Board of Education, the number one thing we need to remember is that the public is the boss. You elected the Board of Education, you're the boss. So when people come and speak, people come and speak at the Board of Education, the Board of Education should be responsive. What I will do is, I think there's 10 speakers that they're allowed to bring in. I will respond to every one of those speakers. I may not agree with them. I may not be able to do the things they necessarily want to do, but I will respond to each and every speaker that comes in by email and first thank them for giving input because they are the boss, and number two, because they need to be heard. So you're asking what we should do. We need to listen to the public, at least respond back to the public. And then secondly, I think we need to also involve parents in that activity because that's some of what we're seeing across the country. We need to have some parent groups that come in and advise us and have some thought and some input into what we are thinking about doing for education because that's important.
Thank you. Dale Turner, same question. If you were elected, how would you team up with and partner with your other board members to move Chatham County schools forward in measurable ways?
Well, actually, right now, we have the reputation in the educational diaspora of being the most thoughtful, deliberative board. We're the highest trained board in the state, which means that in terms of setting policy, mitigating policies, setting innovative programs, and whatever that we are doing what we're supposed to be doing. When we had the COVID virus in our community, parents came before the transmission was down and asked us to reopen schools, which we did not. Asked us to unmask kids because, and I'll never forget this, only 2% of children die from COVID, as if 2% is acceptable. So I don't understand how people can say that you're unresponsive. First of all, in no board meeting that I've ever heard of, unless it's a public hearing, does an official respond to people who are making public comments. That just doesn't happen. So in terms of communicating with parents, we always communicate with our parents by survey, by email, by telephone call every Friday night or no later than Sunday afternoon. Every principal at every school from pre-K to 12th grade calls a parent on their landline phone, their cell phone, and simultaneously sends an email. So I don't understand people saying that we're uncommunicative and that we're not responsive. I don't know what we can do. We are an institution that does not generate income. We have to wait until things are given to us. I would love it if we could put brochures in barbershops and beauty shops telling them all the things that our schools are doing and lifting up our kids and lifting up our teachers, but we can afford to do that. So.
Thank you very much. Jessica Winger, same question. If you're elected, how would you team up with and partner with your other board members to move Chatham County schools forward in measurable ways?
Yes, thank you for that question. I think first and foremost, we need to be having open discussions at the board meeting among board members. That was actually one of my main frustrations when I began attending board meetings is information was presented, presentations were presented, and there was not discussion. And so then individuals came away from those meetings very confused about why a decision was made. They didn't feel like they got the whole picture or that multiple points of view were presented in that. So I think bringing discussion, bringing honest discussion to these meetings is so important. Not only that, but in working together and helping to work with the community, we need to be transparent. Now those discussions can help create transparency. We can also be providing more information, for example, of where ESSER funds are being used currently, where we're using any of our funds to do teacher trainings. You know, all these things are extremely important for the community to be aware of and see. You know, yes, we get phone calls every Friday. Those are from the individual schools, and our individual schools work so hard, and they are amazing at trying to communicate with parents. And I've seen so many teachers and schools do that. But at the board level, there is that disconnect from the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next question. This is a 2-minute question, and Jessica, we'll start with you. This is a question that was based on several questions that readers submitted. So a conservative commentator who has a podcast and recently addressed the Board of Education this week publicly called on Superintendent Dr. Anthony Jackson and the entire Board of Education to resign, claiming that the superintendent and the board have lied to parents of Chatham County school students about the teaching of critical race theory in Chatham County schools. So here's the question. Do you agree or disagree with that stance? And do you believe CRT is being taught to students in our schools? And if so, if you could define CRT for us and provide details and examples of how it's being taught.
Okay, lot of questions in that,
Yeah.
in that one question. So I'm not familiar with the podcast that was, I didn't hear what it was. So I appreciate you giving a little bit of background as to what was said regarding that. So do I agree or disagree with, sorry, can you go back to the questions? I'm
Sure.
sorry, there were a lot in there. I was trying to.
Yeah, I understand. So, it's multi-part.
Yeah, multi-part.
Do you agree or disagree with their call for Dr. Jackson and the entire board to resign? Do you think that the board has lied to lied to students, lied to parents about the teaching of CRT, and do you believe it's being taught? And if so, define it for us and give the specific examples of how it's being taught in the schools. Long
Okay.
question.
Thank you.
I'm going to start all over on your time.
Sorry, thank you. Okay, agree or disagree, call to resign. Wow, that's a very extreme statement to make. I don't know that is a necessary step forward. I don't know that is what's best for our community right now. CRT is a very divisive conversation that's happening right now. This is one of the top questions that we get asked as candidates, or at least I know I've been asked as a candidate. It's something that parents have felt is being pushed. They're not fully aware. They're being blindsided by this. I'll be perfectly honest. CRT is teaching racism. Okay? CRT.
Are you going to address this?
Please don't do that. Please, I'll ask you to leave. We'll have security take it out. Thank you.
You're right, Jess. Go, Jess. Keep going.
CRT teaches that race is the most determining factor for your future. It does not acknowledge any progress that we have made in the past and in the history. Yes, racism exists, and we need to have these discussions, but when we have a very specific viewpoint that is being pushed, we need to have these open conversations. We need...
Okay, sorry, is this going to be addressed?
I'm here to speak and answer the question, and I'm not able to.
Please cooperate. Please no signs. Please no clapping, no booing. Please respect these candidates they deserve. Thank you. And for everybody else who's here to vote.
Okay,
You got about 30 more
Okay,
seconds.
I'll finish up. Okay, I don't believe it should be forced in our schools or on our teachers or anyone. If individuals would like to study this and look into it, they are more than welcome to. But I do not believe in public education that it should be forced.
Okay, thank you. Dale Turner, same question.
All right, as I've said from the moment that these stories started cropping up, critical race theory is not a pre-K-12 conversation. It is a college conversation. And what it deals with is the impact of race on institutions in America, and that's not a new thing. We've done that with the impact of women working on what does it do to the household in America. We've done studies like that on everything under the sun, so I don't see why there's a great big deal about critical race theory. Like I said, it is not for my children in Chatham County schools. If they want to take it when they get to college, they can do that. They're free to do that. It raises another question. When you talk about unbiased education, to me that's kind of like a code word for anti-equity. What we're doing, and rightly so, the schools are supposed to be the level playing field for everybody. That's the way that was set up to be that way. So what we're trying to do, that we've had a lot of teachers come to us and say, we don't really know how to discuss issues of race to the children, black children and white children. So they're just getting professional training in that, in having conversations that don't turn out to be offensive or violent or anything like that. And I don't see anything wrong with that, because that's complete harmony in the schools.
Okay, thank you very much. Tim Moore, same question.
Sure. In terms of the question about whether they should resign, I think we have a political process in place. If people want to see change, they can do it with their vote. That's probably the most powerful voice that we have. In terms of, I agree it doesn't belong in our certainly our K through 12 schools, but if we're talking about unbiased and equity, I think I'm most concerned with the unbiased and equity that we see in the output, right? 70% of our black kids in this county cannot read, write, and add an age group for their age group. That's a problem. We need to solve that. We need to fix that, because if you don't fix that, the inequalities that you see in the school or in those grades will just carry themselves into society. We need to focus on those youth, those children, get them up to a par level. To me, my feeling is that's 85% at grade level. Maybe that's too high, maybe that's too low, but it's certainly better than 70% that can't and 60% Hispanics that can't. We need to focus on that. We're failing our children by not dealing with that.
Thank you very much. Actually, our next two questions are going to deal with student performance. And you will start with this question 2 minutes. And so we found out this week, North Carolina's 4th and 8th grade students have posted their lowest average test scores on reading and math in more than 20 years, according to the National Assessment of Educational Progress results. North Carolina students remain on par nationally, but still the results are alarming. What's your solution?
Well, I think the solution is what we're trying to do now. There's just been an uneven balance in terms of teaching in the schools, and also people higher up in the State Board of Education and DPI introducing new programs for us to have to follow, and it kind of, throws things off, skews things off. So, but you said in North Carolina, all right, but that's not Chatham. If Chatham is making up that, whatever figure North Carolina is contributing to that figure. If it didn't, then it would be higher.
Thank you. Jessica?
Okay, so yeah, the low test scores, all these scores that are now coming out and we're seeing are very unsettling. We really have a lot of work to do. So solutions, what solutions can we have? We absolutely need to be supporting our teachers. They are doing the brunt of the work right now. We need to make sure they have the resources that they need. They have supporting staff. We need to try to recruit more teachers. We need to make sure our schools are full and vibrant and they are working hard. Not only that though, it's been found that extra tutoring and extra community work in supporting students outside the classroom as well can make a huge difference in making up for those low scores and really helping support all students. So I think having a district-wide tutoring program would be extremely useful in helping to get us outside of that big lurch that we're in right now.
Thank you. Tim Moore?
Yeah, I agree with Jessica. I think if we look at what's going on with our schools, it can be very scary in Chatham County. We have 4 schools in the western area of the county that are they receive D grades that need to be focused on and need to be a priority. We need to make the education for those children a priority. We have, as I said before, 12% of the Jordan Matthews population could pass the math test. We need to refocus on those core elements, reading, writing, and arithmetic. Yes, I agree, tutoring should be a part, and that should be a big piece. Also paying our teachers more. So we talked a little bit about budgets. We just, I guess in our county, have decided we want to spend $5 million on a new administrative office. I'm not sure how that's going to help school grades. I would have spent that on teacher pay and tutoring for those low grade kids.
When you guys are speaking, if you could just speak louder into the microphone, I'm having people comment on Facebook that they can only hear Jessica. So I need both you, Del, and Tim to kind of just project a bit more into the microphone for our viewers that get home. Thank you.
All right, the next question, and Tim Moore, we're going to start with you. It's a related question, 2 minutes. We know that 3rd grade reading level is a strong indicator of future academic performance and success. In Chatham County, 70% of white third graders read at or above grade level, but only 45% of black students and only 26% of Hispanic students. What can we do to improve those numbers to give our students the best chance for better performance and success as they move up to middle school and high school?
Yeah, I think that goes along, Bill, with what we've just been talking about. I think we need to put some more funds to it, some more teachers to it, some more substitute and assistant teachers for those teachers so they can break off sessions. And again, I think tutoring is going to help. My wife and I tutor. We see that it has an impact on children even at a very short basis. If we do it on a permanent basis, say 3 to 5 every day, which is, by the way, what a lot of international schools do, you'll see an improvement. That's 360 hours a year that those students will get in special tutoring that will help them make up those scores. So I think that's where we need to focus our attention, again, on teachers and recruiting teachers, but also bringing in some tutors, professional tutors, by the way, paid.
Thank you so much. Dale Turner, same question.
Okay, well, we do have tutoring programs. We partner with Boys and Girls Club, and they provide tutors for us. Also, the YMCA has always provided tutors for us. However, the fact that we even have those statistics is evidence of the inequity that existed before, which we're trying to fix now.
Thank you very much. And Jessica Winger?
Yeah, so I think the community collaboration is a big part of it. Like was mentioned, Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, making sure that is available and consistent, not just supporting those students, but supporting their families and helping them to be a part of this, because when a student is supported at home and at school, that creates the best situation for success for them. But also I think this is where we can get volunteers in the community to come into our schools and help with that extra reading. Our teachers are amazing and incredible, but when they have a class of anywhere from 15 kids to 30 kids, depending on what grade level they are, they can only do so much. And so making sure that they have those extra individuals to come in and say, hey, this student needs some extra help. Hey, can you pull them out for a minute? That can be a great way, even during the day as well, to help lift them up.
All right, thank you very much. Our next question, this comes from a Chatham County teacher, mainly due to state level decision making. What can be done to alleviate this in order to improve school staff retention and recruitment? 2 minutes.
Well, yeah, I think that goes back to how the county also manages their budget. I think we can determine what kind of bonuses we want to give our teachers. We can do that on our own. I think if we look at what's happened with wages for teachers compared to other industries, it's disgraceful, to be honest. People that go to 4 years of college and go and get a basic business job can make $60,000, $70,000 a year. We need to look at how we pay our teachers, how we recruit our teachers, and make sure that they're paid appropriately for the work that they're doing. We can't say we value education if we don't value our teachers. So I'm a big proponent of that, and I think we need to look at that wage discrepancy with our teachers.
Thank you very much. Jessica, same question.
Okay, so similar to those lines, and like what was mentioned in the question, a lot of this happens at the funding for teachers, a lot happens at the state level. So as a school board, we absolutely need to be advocating the state, and we need to be seeking that. But there is plenty we can do as well at the district level or in our county, providing them increasing pay, advocating our county commissioners so that we can increase pay for our teachers, making sure they have the in-school resources, the supports, like I've mentioned. Teachers also deal with a lot of paperwork, a lot of testing, following up, a lot of kind of red tape that prevents them from really being able to dig down deep with a lot of these kids and give them the supports that they need. And so being able to evaluate that and say, hey, is there improvement that can be made here? Is every test that we're giving these child that's required by the district, is this essential, or can we help to streamline this a little bit better? There's a lot of ideas. This is something I think would be an ongoing conversation and a great conversation to have with our teachers themselves and say, what is it that you need from us, and what is it that would help support you better? So we can actually hear from them what it is they actually need.
Okay, thank you. And Dale Turner, same question, 2 minutes.
When I first came on the board, I had this goal to get more money for teachers. That was 12 years ago. It has not happened yet because there are too many variables that are involved with that. Now, they are trying to pass kind of a salary thing, but basically it's just for principals, it's not for teachers. So that leaves me with trying to look at ways to lighten the load on our teachers, because I understand that they are overworked and underpaid. And, you know, a couple of them has complained to me about that and asked me to try to find a way to ease up the load on them. So I have not proposed it to my board yet, so I'm not going to mention what it is, but there's a way that we can alleviate that. It won't do anything about the money until that's done on another level, but it will give them more time, it will help our students achieve more, and it's a win-win for everyone.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question, and Dale, we'll start with you. High-level question. School boards function locally, but I want to ask you this question. What changes do you think should be made on the state and national level regarding public education to help put U.S. students on par with the best performing nations in the world?
All right, well, the State Board of Education is made up of appointees, and I think some of them are elected, but it's mostly appointees, who are setting the standards for North Carolina education. I have always had a problem with that. People who either have no educational experience or don't relate to children making policies for children, because it seems like they think of children as an afterthought. And that happens in our society a lot. So I think that we need to, well, I know I do intend, if I'm reelected, I do intend to contact DPI about the language that they send down for the teachers to use, because it's language that fosters a culture of low expectations about everybody. So I think that parents should have something to say about that. They should write letters to the state board and to DPI and tell them, you know, there are some things that we want you to do, and, you know, because you work for us.
Thank you. Same question, Justin.
Okay, so changes at the national level, what can be done? I think, number one, like we were just talking about teacher pay, making this a priority to pay our teachers for the incredible service and job that they do. They work endless hours, and they aren't paid accordingly for all that they do. Also, there's a lot of discussion at times about, our open schools. How much are we incorporating school choice into our communities? Now, North Carolina is incredibly great in that they do have school choice, and I think that is fantastic. And so if there are ways that we can help expand that, especially to our lower income areas where it could be an incredible opportunity for them, I think that would be a great way that we could help expand and make changes.
Thank you. Tim Moore, same question.
Well, again, I think if you're talking about it from a national perspective, I think we need to make the statement that we value education. I'm not sure we do that if we look at where we spend our money. If we're going to value education, we need to value our teachers, and we need to pay them appropriately. I'm a product of that. As I said, I traveled around all over the world, and some of those schools that I went to were DOD schools. DOD schools are some of the are, according to the latest data, is the best performing schools there are. I can tell you my high schools were pretty hard. I went to one in Panama that I thought was as hard, or maybe a little harder than my college classes. And those teachers were paid very well, extremely well, which is why they never leave. So I think we need to do that on a national and on a state level. If we state we value education, then we need to look at teachers and how we reward them and how we recruit them, and how we make sure that they are given the resources that they need. And again, back to what we said before, we need to also focus on the kids that are underperforming, let's say, or don't have all the tools that they need to be successful when they graduate.
All right, thank you very much. Next question. This is going to be a 1-minute question, and Jessica, we'll start with you. What do you believe, and this is a similar question that we asked the commissioners, what do you believe to be the most pressing issue facing the Board of Education, and how are you uniquely prepared to address that one issue if you're elected?
Oh, it's very hard to choose one pressing issue. There are a lot of things that I feel like need to be focused on. I would probably say, in light of the fact that we did receive these test scores from the past school year from NCDPI, I think the achievement gaps and the learning loss that's occurred is one of our biggest issues. Although teacher shortages is like right there with it. We have so much work to do, and we really need to take this as a community and say, hey, we can do better, and we need to do better for our children, especially in our Siler City schools and around there where there's so much that we need to do, and we want to make sure that those children and students have all the same opportunities and resources, and more, because maybe they are getting the same resources right now, but maybe we need to be giving more in that way towards them to help them to move forward and be able to have that same success that we can see across the county. Staffing shortages, man, we've talked about this a lot today with increasing teacher pay, supporting our teachers more, really trying to promote this positive environment for our teachers so they feel loved and supported as well as they continue to teach.
Thank you. Dale Turner, same question.
Okay. The greatest problem, in my view, is the lack of people going into education as a profession. Because that's why we have a shortage of teachers. Mostly the children that are going to college now are not choosing education, to learn about early childhood development and so on and so forth. And I'm presuming this because they feel like it's a dead-end job with low pay and what have you. You have to have a certain spirit to have a teacher, to be a teacher, and what have you. So I think that we are going to, our shortages, we started out with, in the beginning of the year, I think we had 200 shortages, and now I think we're down to like 30. And we've partnered with a temporary agency that has supplied us with licensed teachers to be substitutes. And that's a good thing. So we just have to, get help where we can.
Thank you very much. Tim Moore, same question.
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said here. We have to focus on how do we improve the output that we have with our children, that we focus on reading, writing, and arithmetic. Those are the most critical elements. But I think the other thing we need to do is we need to be creative. As was talked about earlier tonight, we have 2 large employers coming. Roughly 10,000 people are going to be employed by those 2 employers. And we need to have a workforce that's going to be ready to go and fill those slots. I think there's a lot of discussion around, we'll just throw him to the community college. I don't know if he's ready for 10,000 students coming in that need it. But my thought is community college is more where you learn those kind of skill sets around management, supervisory. We can have a trades program in our schools, just like Joe and I are familiar with our company in Germany. Little town that I'm from, little area is no bigger than Chatham. And just that one graduating class had 400 kids that right on the assembly line making $60,000, $70,000 a year. They went through a trade apprenticeship for 3 years. They still had to do their reading, writing, and arithmetic, but they came out and they had decent jobs, let's say. I wouldn't say that's what anybody's full dream ought to be, but at least they can get out of high school and they can provide for their families, buy a house, and feed their children. So that I think we can do right now. Because folks, right now, I don't know where those 10,000 people are going to come from. They're not here. They're not us. It's not me. So we need to look at our youth and our high schoolers. If we want them to stay local and we don't want them to take off, we need to give them that opportunity.
Thank you very much. You all have been brief tonight, so we've actually run through, we're going to finish with all our questions before 9 o'clock. So there's one question left. It's a 1-minute question, and then we'll do 1-minute closing statements. And so Dale Turner, we'll start with you. And the same question we asked the commissioner candidates. What in your background and experience uniquely distinguishes you from your opponent to make you a better choice for this office in this election? 1 minute.
Okay, as I said, I've attended He's educated in private and public schools, both in urban setting and rural setting. So I have a unique perspective on what stimulates children to learn, and also teacher pedagogies, their style of teaching. Also, I have experience in finance, so I have oversight over the financial reports that the school, that our finance director, who's excellent, internationally recognized by the way, produces. So I really don't have a problem with that. I love children. I respect children for who they are. And basically who they are replacements for you. And I feel like we owe them every amount of knowledge and skill that we can give them so they'll be able to survive in their world, which won't be our world. I don't want them to look back when they have a problem and look back on.
Thank you. All right, Jessica, what your same question?
So what distinguishes me, like I said in my opening, I'm a mother of 4 children who are in Chatham County schools. I'm in the schools weekly. I'm a substitute teacher. I've been right there, seen the teachers, talked to them, and heard from them. I feel that this is extremely important if we're going to address the issues that our schools are dealing with right now. Is we need to be in touch with them, and we need to be there with them and communicating with them and having those conversations with them. So I think that is really my strongest strength right now that can help me to be a strong board member who listens and is open to hearing whether I agree or not. You know, we need to be able to have those conversations and sit down together and really talk to the individuals that it is impacting.
Thank you very much. And Tim Moore?
Yeah, I think my background from managing and working with large budgets and knowing how to get the budget working, because I think we need to find some money that will pay our teachers. We'll call it creative budgeting. But I also think we need to focus on the right things that are going to give us the results that we need with our education, and that's the children. Not money on buildings, not money on new sports complexes, but money for teachers and education. And I'm very concerned at what I see from the grades and what's happening with our kids as I look at our global economy, if you want to call it that. We are falling behind, further behind, and it concerns me that we don't have a plan to make up that gap.